G'day guys, how you doing? So, back with another video, and this video is obviously going to be a follow-up video to the previous video. This morning I woke up and I had two links that had been sent to me. First link was in the comments section of the previous video, and unfortunately it had been deleted by whomever. And then the other link was sent to me via another form. And this link I will leave in the description section below and also in the comments section. You will have to copy. Basically, it's another report. This one is from the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, and it qualifies and proves exactly what I was saying in the previous video, and that was about how they are going to be rolling out this digital currency. Report is basically is from the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, and it's Future of Money, Central Bank Digital Currency. Now, this report, or basically what they're doing, is they're wanting the public feedback. The issue is, like I said, I only got these links this morning. We want your views on how we propose to explore whether a central bank digital currency is right for Aotearoa. You can both read and give your feedback online for this issue's paper by 9 a.m. Monday, the 6th of December 2021. How many of you down there in New Zealand knew about this? Like, seriously, how many of you knew that the Central Bank of New Zealand actually had something that you could read and actually give feedback on in regards to digital currency in New Zealand? I'd say very few of you, 100%. I'd say there'd be very few people that would actually know about what they're trying to roll out down there. So, as I said, this proves a couple of things. One, that what my uncle was talking about back in the 80s, and the fact that he said they're just about there, well, they are. They're just about there. New Zealand is this close to being a full cashless society. It's very close already. I mean, I was actually shocked when I was down there for a couple of years, just at how many people were surprised at actually, because I pay for everything with cash. That's just how I operated. Even my brother, who worked in the banking system, he thought it was I was insane having a stash of cash. He couldn't get over it. It's like, what are you thinking? That needs to be in the bank. It's like, oh my God. Well, I tell you what, he's going to be crying the blues when his hundreds of thousands of dollars are suddenly turned into digital frickin' nothing. I mean, seriously. But the reality is this. They are moving forward with this stuff. And they're moving forward with it without you really knowing about it, and they don't really care what you think because they already know what you think. Seriously. You see, in the previous video, I left a link from the World Economic Forum in regards to the rollout of artificial intelligence in New Zealand and this digital system, cashless society, you name it, everything, right? Well, the PDF was disabled multiple times, where you could go to the World Economic Forum, but if you clicked on that link, it was blocked. One video, this guy, I put a video out that's got 50,000 views, and the World Economic Forum is disabling the PDF. They don't want you knowing what is coming down the pipeline. They don't. But yet in that report, they actually talk about, you know, how we have to work with the citizenry and how we have to be transparent and open and have open dialogue. It's in that report from the World Economic Forum on New Zealand's artificial intelligence network, the rolling out of artificial intelligence and a digital currency in New Zealand. This is absolute insanity. That whenever they're slipping something through the back door, under the back door, they don't want you knowing about it. They don't. They'll put a paper out like this where they want your feedback, but they already know. Through all the social media networks and everything throughout the world, they know exactly what people are thinking about this stuff. That's why it's on the fast track right now. And the reason why it's on the fast track in New Zealand, and mark my words on this one, verbatim, the reason why it's on fast track is the economy in New Zealand will frickin' be tanked. That's the only way they can roll out a digital currency. Think about this for a minute. If you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank like my brother has, or if you've got, millions of dollars in the bank that other people I know have, or, whatever, are you going to suddenly want your money gone and turned into some sort of digital something that you can't touch? Are you going to want that? Even if you've got $1,000, a couple of $1,000, $10,000, are you going to want that to suddenly just vanish and turn into ones and noughts? No, you're not. And they know that. The fact that they send out something like this is just so they can say, well, we did it. We gave you the opportunity to take part in this. But it wouldn't matter if they get 100% of people going, we don't want this. They will still have the media come out. They'll report everything through the New Zealand government's media, which is paid for by the New Zealand government, the media in New Zealand. It's a Crown corporation, and the Crown is the City of London, and we will do a video about the Crown and the Crown Corporation and how all that stuff works. But the reality of the situation is that they don't care. They are rolling this stuff out whether you like it at all or not. Because it is planned 100% that September, October, November next year, they will tank the US economy. But the US is such a powerful country economically, it will bounce back. Like it did in 1987 in regards to Black Monday. The US economy went tanked and then it bounced back up. But what happened to a couple of other countries around the world? One of them, which happened to be New Zealand, New Zealand's economy just went, just augered in. I'll never forget it. Never forget it to the day I die. Because the banks did a run on everybody's money. If you had any sort of debt in any way, shape or form, if you had owed money on a car, if you owed money on a credit card, if you owed money on a property or a house or anything like that, the banks wanted their money. Plain and simple. My own father had ANZ Bank go to his business accounts and withdraw $60,000 to pay off his mortgage on his house without my father's permission, without him knowing about it or anything. I'll never forget it because my father had a temper on him like nothing else on earth, and he went effing ballistic. Like clean off. It was unreal. So if you don't think they're not going to do that again, I don't know what to tell you. So think about this. The amount of money that's being loaned to New Zealand right now by the World World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The amount of money that those two organizations have actually loaned New Zealand right now is to the tune of billions of dollars. New Zealand's never loaned this much money in the entire history of the country, actually. And it dwarfs, when you extrapolate out the population and everything like that, it dwarfs the amount of money that actually caused New Zealand to go bankrupt originally in 1987. So when the US economy goes, bounces, New Zealand's economy is going to go spiral in like nothing else on earth. And then those organizations, those international banks, are going to want their money back. Because how it works is you've got a multitude of corporations. The same corporations that sponsor the World Economic Forum are the same corporations that sponsor the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. What they do is they funnel money to these organizations, and then those banks funnel money into countries that need money to keep themselves afloat. Now, it's no accident that Auckland, New Zealand has been shut down for as long as it has. And we'll get to that here in a minute. Because when a country owes as much money as what New Zealand does right now and has absolutely no way of paying it back, when New Zealand's economy goes spiraling down, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand is going to go to the government and say, we want our money back. And then the New Zealand government is going to get up on the pedestal and explain to New Zealand citizens just exactly why we have to pay back, or New Zealanders, not me, thank God, but New Zealanders have to pay back the money that has been loaned to them by these other organisations. Now, in 1987, when the country went bankrupt, the New Zealand government had all the state-owned corporations that they gave to the international monetary funds to pay back the debt that was held against the country. And those debts were paid back by getting rid of Telecom, TVNZ, the ferries that ran across the ocean, the power supply system, all that sort of stuff. All that stuff was sold off, apparently sold off. No, they weren't sold off. They were literally just given back to the international monetary funds that were then taken over by those corporations. They supposedly sold those entities. No, they were handed over to cover the debt. So what does New Zealand have? Think about this for a minute. Seriously, what does New Zealand have now that it can give those corporations that have loaned the money to those international monetary funds and the World Bank that have loaned money to New Zealand? What do they have to pay back? I'm going to give you a little hint here. See, my father was a mason. So was my grandfather. I'm not one. Never have been one. However, my father, on his deathbed, kind of let a little bit slip. New Zealand will be nationalised. Straight up. Can't make this up. He said, and I quote, "The sooner the United States nationalises New Zealand, the better off this country's going to be." There you heard it, verbatim. I don't really know what else to tell you, because when New Zealand goes bankrupt, what does it have to actually give the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the corporations that loaned those banks the money that they've loaned to New Zealand? I mean, you've got businesses around New Zealand that have loaned hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to keep themselves afloat. There's absolutely no accident in Auckland that they've kept Auckland shut down for the amount of time that they have, because for New Zealand, Auckland is basically the financial hub of the country. None of this stuff has been an accident. When New Zealand goes bankrupt, and it will go bankrupt, those corporations, which solely are actually owned by, the United States, they're going to come in and they're going to want something for their money. So the country has land, right? The country has a bunch of farmland that they've been taking from the farmers. They have national forests. They have, some natural resources, etc. And they have all the businesses that have loaned hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to keep themselves afloat while the country has been locked down. So the only way that the country can actually pay back its debt is to actually have the New Zealand government take the keys to the country, which is a corporation. New Zealand is a registered corporation, and hand the keys of the country over to the entities that actually have loaned the money to keep that country afloat. That's how they're going to pay back the debt. New Zealand, I would say in the next few years, is going to completely and utterly lose its sovereignty to another country. It's what they call economic colonialism. It's what the United States did to Japan. It's what the United States has done to the Philippines. It's what the United States has done to Puerto Rico. It's what the United States has done to a colossal amount of countries. Panama, you name it all. It's called economic colonialism. And that's what's going to happen to New Zealand. That's how New Zealand will become this fully AI country with a digital currency. Think about what Klaus Schwab said. You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's scary shit, which is code for we're going to take everything of yours, we're going to own everything, and you're effed. Seriously. One of the links that I got was connected to an individual in New Zealand, and I'm going to read exactly what this individual said. Effing stupid survey, a large part of which focuses primarily on assessing the criminality of this system that can only be described as an attempt to financially cripple and enslave populations through financial dependency. F the government for even having the gall to introduce this bill with such stealth that it will be a done deal before they realize it. I wrote, my family and I do not want a digital currency and reject the concept in its entirety, as it is primarily about control and impoverishment. We see its connection to the current Digital Identities Trust Framework Bill, which the government is attempting to sneak through at unseemingly pace. Pretty much what I explained to you in the last video. We are 100% against this bill because we do not want my privacy and personal freedom stripped away as government agencies track every move we make, including what we spend. And it goes on from there. Think about that for a minute. Think about, like I said, in the previous document from the World Economic Forum, they said it's all about transparency. It's all about being open and honest with the public and keeping them informed and all that sort of stuff. They're not. And if they're not doing this, they are on the fast track. And if you people, you literally, New Zealanders need to really put on their big boy pants, because it's getting serious down there. Sincerely. If you do not start taking some serious action, this stuff is going to be rolling out, and it's going to be unbelievable what you're going to see happen in that country over the next few years. God's honest truth. And if you think Christopher Luxon is going to be able to help you out in any way, shape or form, or the National Party, you're delusional. Straight up. New Zealand does not have a 2-party, 3-party or 4-party political system anymore. It has a 1-party system. And that 1 party is answerable to the World Economic Forum and the corporations that sponsor the World Economic Forum. That's the God's honest truth. And we're going to do some more in-depth videos on that stuff, because I know exactly what's going on. Plain and simple. So, until those videos roll out, get busy. Start spreading the news, start telling people what's going on, and take your New Zealand government to task. Alrighty? Talk to you later.